So I wanted to start with what my definition is of confidence. So I believe confidence is unapologetically taking up the space that you want to take up without preventing others from taking up theirs. We're not talking about, I'm so confident by diminishing others. It's about just being comfortable in the space. So I was coaching a team recently, and one of them said to me, so my boss keeps telling me to speak up more in meetings. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, well, I want to speak up when I want to speak up, when I've got something to say. I don't want to feel that I have to say something in every meeting. So I said, well, do that. Because actually deciding that this is the meeting where I don't want to say anything, that I'm actually going to listen, that is confidently taking up your space. The problem comes is when you have an idea that you want to share, but you don't quite dare speak up. That's when there's an issue. But don't let someone say to you that you only have value when you're speaking. So I want you to think about where you sit on this line. So at the extreme right-hand side of the line, you have someone who is 100% internally referenced. That means that they take all of their reference points about who they are and how successful they are, if you like, and how well they've done internally. They just have it from themselves, no feedback allowed. And the person at the far end of the other side of that line is 100% externally referenced. They take all their feedback on who they are, how they've done, how successful they are from the people around them. And that can include your own internal critic. If you have this voice in your head that's always going, you're not enough, you're this, everyone else can do it except you. And we'll talk more about that during this talk. That is actually externally referenced because your brain doesn't know the difference, between this voice saying this to you and someone else saying it to you. So when you beat yourself up, your brain doesn't know that that isn't you. It thinks that's what others are saying. So have a think about where you sit on that line for just a moment. And typically people who are not super confident are quite a way down this end. And there's an issue, isn't there? Because while there are positives about an internally referenced person, I mean, they're very resilient. And if I explain a little bit more about an internally referenced person, imagine they were doing a presentation. And at the end of it, you said to them, how did that go? And they'd say, yeah, it was great. And you'd say, how do you know? And they'd say, I just know. And if you said that to an externally referenced person, how was that presentation? They'd say, yeah, it's great. And you'd say, how do you know? And they'd say, well, because people were smiling, people were giving me feedback. I got lots of questions in the chat, but it would all be about what other people had told them. There'd be nothing about what they themselves thought or felt. And the trouble with that is that there's a fragility of ego. You can have 99 people saying to you that was a great presentation and one person saying it was great. Maybe just speak up a little bit more next time, almost as a throwaway comment. And you'll say to that person, how did it go? And they'll say, well, it's okay. Apparently I just need to speak up more. That is the thing that they could focus on the most. And that is the danger. Your ego is resting really in the hands of others. But on this side of internal reference, if you're 100% internally referenced, you have a zero capacity for growth. There's a wall. You're not taking on board any feedback. So resilient, yes, but you're not growing, you're not developing. Externally referenced, really open to growing, however, you're giving your power away. I hope this is resonating. So there was a boy who found a jewel. And he took it to his dad. He said, Daddy, look, I found this jewel. And his dad said, son, I want you to take it to the baker. And when he asks you how much you want for it, I want you to just hold up 2 fingers. That's all. And then come back and tell me what he says. And his son came back and said, Daddy, he said he's going to offer me $2. And his dad said, okay, now I want you to go to the antiques dealer and do the same thing. And he came back and said, Daddy, he's offered me $20. He said, now I want you to take 2 buses across town Go to the fine art dealer and ask him, how much is he going to offer you? And he came back and said, he's offered me $200. And his father said, son, don't ever let someone else tell you what you're worth, because they will only ever judge you from their own perspective. They have no idea of the limitless potential that you have. You're the jewel. And I think that's exactly the problem with being too externally referenced, too mindful, worrying too much about what other people think, is that we're letting them give us a vote on who we are. They don't know who we are. And not all of them, let's be honest, have a positive intention towards us.